welcome to Picture Book Chat. I'm Mary Ellen, and this is my colleague Sheri, and we're here to talk with you today about some books that Sheri has picked out.
Yes. So I'm the buyer for the district's youth stuff, and I love seeing all the new stuff come in, and this is an opportunity to share them with a colleague who loves picture books just as much as I do. The first one I wanted to talk about is Would You Come Too by Liz Garton Scanlon. First of all, I love this cover. I love the movement of the illustrations. I think it's really intriguing. You can see like these little creatures in here. I think it would really pull kids in. So this is basically a book about a nature walk. And we do some nature story times and trainings here at the library, and I think this book would be perfect for that. Perfect. I love the detail.
I love the end papers. I have to just say I love the end papers. So much fun.
Yeah, definitely. Like just identifying all the little creatures that you see here.
Yes. What do you think you're going to talk about in this book? That would be a great question to ask
Look
the
at
kids.
your clues.
Yeah,
there's some decoding opportunities in this I think are really good. So it's basically a boy and a girl. He's like, can you come out to play? If we were walls, we'd have windows and we'd throw them open wide. If we were the wind, we'd blow on in and invite everybody outside. So that sets the stage for what's going to happen. They're going to be exploring nature. It's a great book about imagining yourself in nature and imagining what it would be like to be the things that you're seeing, like to be the pond, to be the river, to be tadpoles and butterflies, to be a bird in the nest. I love that they've built this little like twig shelter. So there's lots of things that you see them doing. Like they're not just going through and imagining themselves as creatures, but they're really interacting with nature. They're climbing trees. They're pretending to be shrubs. There's sound elements like on this page, if we were frogs, we'd rest on the rocks. We'd sing with a croak and a trill. So I love the vocabulary.
Yes, it's great for vocabulary.
Yeah. And I think you could practice trilling with kids if you were doing this in a story time. What did you think about this one?
Oh, I loved it. And I love that, like, for instance, this page here, you've got some diversity in the story also, but you've got some adventuring going on and that kids are having fun and enjoying being out in nature. And then just some of the movement throughout it. It feels like you've got some movement in here. Like if we were rivers, we'd run, and boundless and wild and free.
And I love that it's mimicked.
Yes.
You see the fox running this way, the kids are running this way. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's perfect. So it's one of those books I think would be great for a nature unit and also just some discussion around nature. So this really lends itself to asking the kids, what would you be if you were something in nature? So that they could think of their own words. And it's great for introducing vocabulary so that maybe they could pick up on some of that and practice with that. So I really like that about this book. I think that it would also be great to have them think about what's your favorite spot in nature, or where would you like to go in nature, and have them draw that so they can put that down on a piece of paper. But then they could also, what would your words be if you were nature in that spot, so that you could do some extension activities. So it works on a number of different levels. I really like that. Not only for preschool, but you could get into that beginning writing skills too, with first and second grade and writing, which, you know, the kids' stories are so much fun at that age to read. But it really gives them a time to be creative and just imagine, where would you like to be? Or what was your favorite spot in nature from this book? So it leads to a lot of great discussion. So you could also tie it in with some animal units also. So that would be really good.
This just occurred to me looking at it, but I'm realizing these are watercolors, and I think this would be a great introduction to an art unit. You know, like, because kids love to paint. And I think, you know, just kind of showing some of these pictures and maybe talking about how they got some of the brush strokes, like maybe there was a little more water here, you know, a finer paintbrush maybe over here. So I think, like, you can even talk a little bit about art technique.
Definitely.
With beginning watercolorists.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, a really fun one to use with a lot of different ways that you can use it too. Yeah, just beautiful illustrations in here. And I think that's something that really draws kids in who just like to do art is the illustrations. And then when you pull them in, then you hear all that vocabulary on top of it, which is wonderful to hear. So, and just some questions in here. Would you run all the way to the sea? So, that would be great to ask the kids. And why?
Yeah.
Why or why not?
Yeah. Yeah, it pulls back and it's almost like looking at a map a little bit.
Yeah.
What age group, you might have already said this, but what age group do you think this would be good for?
I think this would be good anywhere from preschool on up into first, second grade. Because there's so many things that you can talk about and some of the artwork that you could do with it. I think that it transcends into the, early elementary ages too. That would be a lot of fun to work with the kids and to talk about where would you like to be in nature and have them draw their favorite spot and write some words down about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Yeah.
My next one is kind of similar.
Yes.
So this is One Boy Watching, and I really wanted to talk about this one because one of our librarians suggested to me to be on the lookout for books about rural life. Like we've got books that take place in nature, but because so much of our district service area is rural, like it's important to find books that kind of mirror that experience back.
Right.
And I think because so much of the publishing world is centered in big cities, like we've got great books about riding the subway for the first time, like, going to the Metropolitan Museum. And like those are great for giving kids a window out into the world, but sometimes it's fun for them to see landscapes that look like what they're familiar with. So this is One Boy Watching, and this little boy catches the bus practically before the sun is up. I love the gorgeous pastels in this. And it's just this kind of quiet book about, his morning commute to school. And there's lots of numbers in it. Bus number 4, 3 big steps up. I think every kid that's ridden the bus can remember trying to scale those steps.
Yeah, definitely.
28 empty seats. So there's counting opportunities in this. But it shows all the different things that he can see on his way to school. And, those of us that, might have grown up out in the boonies, like it can feel like there's nothing out there, but there's so many things out there. You can see deer, you can see barns, you can count the sunflowers. I love the 4 rusty cars.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of kind of non-sentimental realism in this that I really enjoy. I just love this landscape.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The colors are just spectacular in this. And I really like it for some activities in that you can talk about what does your trip to school look like, whether it's on a bus or whether you're walking, so you can work on some mapping skills and draw what you see along the way. Also, with the numbers in there, you could make this into a math book where you're doing some random counting. So you're not necessarily doing it in order, which I do like because that gives a little bit more of a number sense for kids. Like this one, 48 kids in all, packed like crayons in a crayon box.
It's a great metaphor.
So, there's some fun activities that you can do with this as you go along. So, I just thought it was a nice representation about a bus ride with the kids getting on, but like how there's always that first child that's on the bus and the child that's the last off the bus.
Yeah.
So I think that gives a nice depiction because, sometimes the bus rides can be quite long. So, and you can see everything that's going on as they reach and get to school. So... and you could do some art projects with the pastels. I thought that would be kind of fun, too.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. One big bump, all the kids in the back jump. Like, I love that there's all the...
I can remember doing that,
Like, there's this kind of visceral level to it that, or kinetic is probably a better word. Like, you actually just feel that as a listener.
Yeah.
It shows them stopping and listening at the train tracks.
Yeah.
A little safety lesson.
Yeah.
I really like this a lot.
Yeah.
And I love, the closer they get to school, you see the town getting busier.
Yeah.
There's more houses. And finally they're there.
Yeah. Arrived right on time. Which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So, that was a good one. That was a good find. to kind of show that ride into school. So you see a lot of the books you see getting on and off the bus.
Yeah.
And you can see some things in the city, but to see that landscape is really different. So this was, I really like this for that.
Yeah. Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking, like, I can't think of another picture book that I've seen that is the actual bus ride to school.
Yeah.
At least from the perspective of, like, the first kid on and the last kid off. Like, a lot of them seem to start kind of in the middle.
Yep.
Maybe with a lot of characters. But, yeah, I really like this one.
Yep.
So that's One Boy Watching by Grant Snider.
Yes, like that.
What have you got next?
Well, and then we can continue on kind of with the being out in the country. So we've got Farmhouse by Sophie Blackall and Blackall. And again, some great...
Oh my God, this is so pretty.
Yeah, some great end papers here. But this is just all about this farmhouse. And I will say the illustrations kind of caught my eye on this one. But it just talks about, it's a large family, and it's talking all about the house and what the house does, and it shows the different areas of the house. So it would be a great introduction if you were doing things on where people live. We showed another book in another episode where we did like a big apartment building.
Yeah.
And so that would be nice to do in conjunction with this one. And just daily life on a farm here. And so, and you see where there's, when you're looking at the bedrooms, oftentimes there's a couple of different beds in there. So kids are sharing bedrooms. So that's something I know my kids were always... One of mine always says, well, I never got my own room because I always had to share. But then they show life on the farm here, too, which is just great. What did you think of this one, Sheri?
Like you, the illustrations were what immediately caught my eye. They kind of remind me of the illustrations in the Little House on the Prairie books by Garth Williams. Like they have that level of kind of sketching and detail. But the more I look through this, I just fall in love with this family. I love seeing them mark their heights on the wall on one of those pages. In another page, they're doing potato prints to make the wallpaper. But the thing I loved best was looking at the back and realizing this is an actual farmhouse in New England, that the author, she had bought the land, and it was kind of, you can see like it's in ruins, and she talks about it in the back where she started to kind of explore, and she found like all these handmade dresses that just looked like mud by the time she got there. They, were just balled up and in the dirt. And, she found like little bits of wallpaper, clippings from different things. And so she used those in the illustrations. Like some of the things you're looking at are things that she found in this actual old farmhouse. And it was too decrepit for her to actually restore it. But I love that she was able to kind of memorialize it in this book.
Yes, and this would be great to talk about with the kids, how she found this house and how she was restoring it, because then you could go in, where would you like to live? Draw where you would like to live and what you would like your home to look like. And it can be anything, so that it doesn't need to be, that's why I think putting it into a unit, too, would be great with different housing, so that kids could draw where they would like to imagine their house as a grown-up. Where would they like to live eventually? Beautiful, beautiful illustrations. So I feel like we hit the jackpot with illustrations lately. There's just been some
stunning,
beautiful picture books published, and this falls right in there with them. Yeah,
and you see nature overtaking the house after the family moves out. Like it's kind of this fascinating look at like, what can happen to a dwelling over time. And I think like in this area, if you are taking the highway up north to Deer Park or south to Pullman, like you see old barns just kind of falling apart by the side of the road. So I think this is a way to kind of imagine, like who might have lived there way back when.
Yeah.
And it's got this quality that there's one spread where you see them, it's kind of a cross section. It just makes me think of like those Fisher-Price Little People doll houses.
Oh, yeah.
I can't find it now, but it's up here. Like
Yeah.
you see the kids sleeping in the attic.
Right.
So I also think like any kid that, loves kind of miniature worlds or has a dollhouse like this,
yeah.
just how they furnish it, I think can be really fascinating.
Or you could remember the dioramas you used
Yes.
to make out of a shoebox? I think you could do something like that and
Perfect.
make something along those lines too. Mm-hmm. So another good one, Sheri. Thank you.
I love this book.
Yes.
So I think we have one left. Do
Yeah.
you want to introduce it?
Oh, yes. This was Moose's Book Bus by Inga Moore. And that is all about where the animals, Moose, and the end papers are beautiful on this, I will just say that.
Yeah.
But this one is that Moose lived with his family in a house in the woods. And then he would always tell his family stories. But then they realized that
He runs out.
He runs out and he needs more.
Fresh material.
And so he's looking for books. And he realized there's no place to go get books. So what he comes up with, he went out and asked all the animals, do you have storybooks? And so eventually they realized at the library there were lots of books, but the library was far away. Mm-hmm. And so he comes up with this idea of being able, they would all come to his house while he would read too. So he comes up with this idea to make a book bus. And
Perfect.
so he loads it up with books, and then he goes out and he realizes then they don't need him to read as much because everybody's reading on their own because they have their own books. So just kind of a fun story about how a book bus came to be, which works in really nice because we've just added our
own book bus. so
our
to
own
speak.
book bus called Link that we have. So just kind of fun where we can take out books to people where they don't have a library close by. So this works in really nicely with that, and it works in nicely with the book One Boy Watching, where they've been out. They have a long ride into school. And so, this was a fun one. The illustrations in here, they're, again, very detailed. It would work well in a story time, but it also works well one-on-one because there's so much detail that you can take a look at and really have fun exploring the pages and asking questions about what's going on. But I just love that Moose loves to read to all the animals. So it's a really fun one. What did you think about it, Sheri?
I just love the variety of the animals in this. I think there's some fun counting opportunities, especially that spread where there's like 50 animals in his living room.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
I just think it's great fun. And just identifying the different kinds of animals, I think could be fun for kids.
Yeah.
Figuring out, is that a beaver? Is it a woodchuck? What are we looking at? Then you can turn to your nature encyclopedias and figure it out. And this book bus, I love this thing that he finds, it looks like in a junkyard. And he sees all the possibilities in it. And I love that he's kind of anthropomorphic. He's, standing on two legs like a person. His body language is very much like a dad. I just think it's great fun. And again, I love the tiny little details and just like the colors.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful colors.
Yeah, they're very soft and it's kind of a limited palette, but it works. I think it's just great.
Well, they're soft, but they're still bright enough at the same time where you can use this book with a group. Because sometimes you get some books that are just better on one-on-one when the colors are so soft. But this one, I think, stands out well that you can use it with a group. Like I said, a lot of detail, so it would be nice to let the kids explore it.
Yeah.
The book afterwards there. But it would be a great introduction to maybe going to the library. You could do a field trip to the library, or if Link is coming to your area, or Link is the name of our bookmobile, and so that you can, get them ready to go onto the book bus and pick out their books. So this would be a great introduction to that.
Make sure they get a copy of this.
Yes, and also it would be great to share what are your favorite stories. What would you read out loud if you had a group, just like Moose did? What's your favorite book to read aloud? So that would be a fun question for the kids, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but another fun one just about going and reading. So,
yeah, I think that question about what would you like to read to a group, I think can be really fun. Like I know back when I used to do story times, one of the moms came out to me later and said her daughter was doing the whole, like holding the book and telling the story like I did, like at home, to just, you know, the dog. And I just thought that was so much fun. And so I think for kids to imagine, like, what would I do if I was the story lady, story time provider?
Yes, that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, so, really fun one. So, good one for us to end on. So, make sure to come to the library and check out all the books that we have. You can always put them on hold, but thank you for joining us for Picture Book Chat today, and we hope you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.